So even though I can understand most of what Meir said, I'm going to do it in English. Because I left Israel when I was 15 years old, so I will not subject you to what I call pediatric Hebrew overall. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Meir, for setting up this panel this afternoon. So Jeanette and I are very happy to be here with you this afternoon. To us, you represent some of Israel's most influential thought leaders. We hope that you will leave here today with plenty of things to think about. Because for the last 20 years, Pew has studied the religious landscape in America. So in 2012, Jeanette and I approached Pew about studying the attitudes of Jewish Americans. At the time, there was no shortage of dialogue about Jewish identity, Jewish values, and the state of the Jewish people in the United States. Although the conversation was vigorous and at times very loud, in the end, the evidence driving the conclusions was mostly anecdotal. As you know, anecdotes at times can be very entertaining, but they hardly provide the basis for institutional policy. I'm sure you'll agree that the best decisions are driven by evidence and by hard data. The Pew Research Center has a sterling reputation for thorough, nonpartisan research. The research that they do is purely data-driven. They leave the interpretation and the editorializing to others. Or as Pew's founder, J.N. Pew, used to say, tell the truth and trust the people. For these reasons, Pew Research was the ideal partner to tackle something that hadn't been done before in over a decade, that is measuring the attitudes of U.S. Jews towards Judaism. And I will add that this particular project was funded primarily by Pew and ourselves. There was no other Jewish institution to put their finger on the scale here on the outcome. The same, by the way, is true of the study here in Israel. It was our hope that the 2012 project, that the data it produced would be for the benefit of the entire Jewish community in the United States. It would provide every organization, regardless of ideology, with a baseline against which to measure the effectiveness of their programs. Data that will show what was working for them or what was not working for them. All the organization could then make choices about what to perpetuate, and even more importantly, what to leave behind. What happened after the release of the study exceeded our wildest expectations. The study triggered vigorous and informed discussion, generating worldwide interest, demonstrated by ongoing media attention, leadership engagement, presentations, academic research, online traffic, and enormous social media conversations. Just a couple of facts of what happened after that study. In the first 6 months, in June, to be issued in June of 2013, there was one major media article issued every week, and over 5,000 social media posts in the first 6 months. The Pew Research team had been invited to speak by every type of religious, academic, and cultural organizations on dozens of occasions. The data continued to be referenced in congregational sermons, mainstream press, and scholarly articles. And organizations are pragmatically, even today, shifting their priorities based upon the Pew Research finding. Now, having done that, we concluded that 80% of the Jewish people live in two countries in the world, the United States and Israel, about in equal amounts. We began to think about that it would be useful to compare the same studies that we did in the United States with a study here in Israel, and we approached Pew about doing that study here. I have to say at the beginning there was a little hesitation on their part because Israel is not known to accept too many of these studies, but we did it, and there have been other studies here, periodic studies about the state of practice in Israel. Our goal was to design a study that would permit researchers to make in-depth comparisons between the United States and Israel and put these issues in a broader context of the Middle East. Indeed, this study is especially useful and unique because the Pew Research Center interviewed over 5,600, that's 5,600 Israeli adults, in order to separately analyze the views of Muslims, Christians, Druze, secular Jews, Haredi Jews, and Israeli settlers in the West Bank. The definition was the same definition that Israel uses for its citizens. As was done in the United States, a panel of expert advisors, many of the leading figures in Israel and Jewish studies, was assembled to lend their unbiased expertise to consult on the methodology, survey design, and the analysis of the data. You will meet members of the first-rate team shortly, including, I would like to give special thanks to Sergio Della Pergola and Steve Cohen. Both of them were on the U.S. studies, and both of them were also on the Israeli studies. So we had commonality of advisors. Similar to the motivations of the American study, we are interested only in establishing the facts and provide a useful baseline from which we hope progress will be measured. Among you in this room, and people who are really looking at the data here, are leaders, thinkers, and change agents. You're each expected and respected for your expertise. We hope that you will find the Pew study as valuable as you pursue pragmatic decision-making. We hope that the Pew research will trigger useful conversation among the members of the community and equally provide a way to measure real and meaningful progress in this very challenging dialogue. Thank you very much.